I went to the University of Minnesota on a scholarship in engineering, and I absolutely hated it. The math was too easy, uh, and it really wasn't what I was interested in. I got some bad guidance in high school. They gave us all aptitude tests, and I came out really high in biology, but also high in physics and mathematics and English. And in inclination, I wanted to do biology, and they said, well, there's only one career in biology, and that's to be a high school teacher. And of course, to a teenager, 16, that's the last thing they wanted to do. So they said, well, you have all this other aptitude. You could be a medical doctor. And I knew the local medical doctor never had time for anything. He worked about 20 hours a day. And that wasn't for me either. So I went off to engineering school. The nearest university to home was actually North Dakota State University, which in those days was North Dakota Agricultural College. And the disparagers called it MooU. And I was up there visiting a friend, and as usual, looking around in the biology department, and ran into this big burly guy in a lab coat who asked me what I was doing there. And I told him that I was interested in biology and that, and got into a conversation, and he found out I had engineering physics, and it turned out that he wanted to measure the energy content of organisms using a device that was called a bomb calorimeter. And I'd done bomb calorimetry in freshman physics, so he hired me for the summer. And wasn't an electronic project in those days. Today you'd press a button and walk away, and a machine would do the rest of the work. I had to set this up and fire the bomb, and then take temperature readings every few minutes for the next hour or so. The first ones were just a few seconds apart, but then it would tail off to 5 and 10 minutes. And I just took things off his shelf and started reading to kill the time in those, and read all sorts of what are now classic books in ecology and limnology, a term I'd never heard of at the time. And that's what he considered himself to be. It's the freshwater equivalent of oceanography. I hadn't realized when I started working for this fellow, whose name was Gabe Comita, that limnology was the freshwater equivalent of oceanography, with all of the options working in freshwater that oceanographers had for doing marine work. So I started reading books in that field, and that fall I switched majors, and I switched to North Dakota State from the University of Minnesota, and I knew what I wanted to do. I switched from engineering physics at the University of Minnesota, which I thought was kind of a boring occupation, to biology, and in particular, I knew right from the start that I wanted to be a limnologist and work on lakes and study the science of lakes. And in those days, at least, it was a very generalist kind of work, where a limnologist usually did the physics, the chemistry, and the biology of lakes. So after 2 years of engineering physics, I knew the physical and the chemical side pretty well. What I didn't know was the biology. So I spent my final 2 years catching up on the biology part. One of the things that I had looked forward to was to take his course in limnology, but he went on sabbatical the year that I was qualified. So to this day, I've never had a course in it. Sometimes that's an advantage. You don't have any biases and dogma. You sort of make your own way, and sometimes often you find that the dogma was wrong.